Hey everybody, Rachel here with Givebutter. Thanks for joining for another success story from the Givebutter community. Today we are highlighting Sprout Social. Recently they raised over $19,000 for their annual 5-day charity event, Philanthropy Week. I have Katy here with me to share how they turned up and turned out to gather together and raise money for causes and charities they care deeply about. Katy's also going to tell us what made them turn to Givebutter, as well as tips, tricks, and lessons learned along the way. Katy, thank you so much for joining and for sharing your story with the Butter fam.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to highlight your success. So to start, could you please introduce yourself? And for those who aren't familiar, who is Sprout Social?
Sure. So my name is Katy Harth. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am Sprout's events operations manager. So to color some context or give a little color and context there, I help to streamline events processes in all of our office locations. I help drive large scale employee experience initiatives, and I partner with our business resource groups and our recruiting team to connect with our office location communities and to help champion diversity, equity, and inclusion in our recruiting efforts by way of public facing events. As for Sprout Social, Sprout Social is a social media management. Sprout Social is a social media management solution. We enable businesses to harness the power of social to understand and reach their audience, engage with their communities, and measure performance with our robust but easy to use all-in-one platform.
Beautiful. So let's talk Philanthropy Week.
Definitely.
What's it all about? How does it work? What were you raising funds for? It is a beautiful backstory. So I'd love if you could share like how it got started.
Sure. So Philanthropy Week is Sprout's annual 5-day charity event in which Sprout team members gather together to raise money for causes and charities that we care deeply about, like you mentioned. During the week, we leverage our privileges and resources to support, engage, and improve the communities in which we live. So this year, in addition to raising funds, we are really focused on providing our employees and networks with opportunities to learn, promote social amplification, and most importantly, create lasting relationships with the 10 charities we partnered with for Philanthropy Week this year. This is our third year doing it as a global employee base. We started it off with our Seattle team. We acquired a company about 4 years ago, and that team started Philanthropy Week, and they brought it to us and said, this is a really incredible and impactful initiative for us. And so we grew it and scaled it with our global team after that.
Beautiful. So over the last 3 years, it's been tweaked and changed a little bit. And you mentioned that you were adding on to raising funds this year. How did you change up how you raised funds this year?
Sure. So we partnered with Givebutter, obviously. And in previous years, the solutions that we had that we were using to collect and then donate the funds were quite cumbersome for everyone involved on the back end. And it made it challenging for donors to feel confident that their money was going to the right cause. So it was crucial for us to find a different tool this year that could offer an easier and more transparent experience for the donors and for people on the back end like me. So one of my teammates who reached out to Givebutter, his name is Kevin Bertram, he did extensive research into a variety of solutions, and he came back with a hearty recommendation for Givebutter. And after demoing the platform myself and seeing how both the user and admin experiences worked, I was totally sold.
Well, shout out to Kevin. Thank you for doing that and bringing Sprout Social into the Butter fam.
Yeah.
And so what was your idea for setting up your Philanthropy Week with Givebutter? Like, what were you envisioning? What tool did you use when you were setting it up?
So I want to highlight that the experience was really pretty effortless for me. At first, we were taking a look at what it would be like to have a fundraiser, a single fundraiser where we're housing all 10 charities. But we recognized that it would be a lot easier for us to create 10 different fundraising campaigns so that each charity had its own dedicated page. And it was important for us to do this for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to make sure that teams felt like they had a place, a central fundraising page where they could direct all of their donors to learn a little bit more about the charity that they were supporting, that they felt passionate about. And we wanted to be able to do things like create custom colors on the donate buttons, and within kind of the text of the About Us. The custom donation links from like the high level of the like general Sprout page that highlighted all 10 fundraising pages to the specific fundraising pages that we had for each charity, and then down onto the team level, made it really easy for our teammates to engage with their networks to drive those funds through Givebutter.
And I'm just sharing my screen here so people can get an idea of like, okay, what does this look like? Where is it housed? So
Definitely.
all the fundraisers laid out here. And just to reiterate, the branding work that you did, one thing I noticed that you did was so brilliant was creating cohesion around your storytelling. So it was the
Mm-hmm.
same format of headers. The colors were just different, and the story was, um, purpose to fit what charity that you were highlighting, which I thought was just
Definitely.
a simple touch and made it easy to go through all of them. Because I can imagine other supporters may have been curious to check out other fundraisers, even if they weren't invited to one specific one. So I thought that was kudos to your team. That was beautiful and so well done.
Thank you.
Any
Yeah,
other?
it was really easy. We ended up we partnered directly with the charities as well to make sure that their voice and their vision was heard on all of these pages. And so we were able to take copy that they provided to us, either through email correspondence or just being able to pull copy directly from their own websites, so that everything was in their voice and in their language, while I went through and kind of edited it to make it a little bit digestible and easy to understand, to make sure that we were getting at like those really critical high level impact.
That is helpful to know. Were there any other tips, tricks, lessons learned, whether you at a high level or team members or feedback that you got from supporters, anything that you learned along the way or did to make it more successful?
Sure. So one of the things that you'll notice as you're kind of taking a look at what we had here is, while the competition was internal for us, we didn't have any fundraising goals for any of our teams. And we thought that that was a really important thing to do, because we wanted to be able to celebrate every dollar that was earned, as opposed to feeling like any of the teams were more or less successful or not hitting certain goals, because the goal really was, fundraising was a component, but the goal was really to drive awareness and social engagement. We also structured our events. It was 5 days, and each day had a dedicated event or goal tied to it. And so, for example, on our first day, we had something called Why My Charity. People created videos talking about why they chose the charity that they were supporting, and we put it all out on social. And we let them leverage those Givebutter links, whether just to their team's page or to their individual page, to drive those donations. And we highly encourage them to be very active on social every day. And so, so while it was a short week of fundraising, we gave people that content and those driving events every day to stay engaged, and to encourage their networks and communities to show up for them.
Absolutely. And that model was incredibly successful for you. You raised on Givebutter over $19,000.
Yeah.
Uh, so I heard that there may have been more raised beyond that. Can you tell us more about your success there?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, like you mentioned, on Givebutter alone, we raised over $19,000 for our charities, through, I believe it was a little over 280 different donors, which was incredible. And so, while we didn't have any financial goals specifically tied to the event this year, I am thrilled to share that we did exceed our funds raised from last year by over 24%.
Wow.
And in total, we raised over, as an organization, we raised, it was $27,329, because we included a bonus from Sprout to give people extra incentive to engage and have that little bit of friendly competition with each other. And in addition to that, Morgan Stanley, who is one of the lead banks on our IPO, pledged an additional $15,000 to this initiative. And so that brings our grand total to $42,329 for our charities. And then, speaking about social, we saw well over 103,000 impressions on social for all of our Philanthropy Week centered content, which I have to say is not bad for a 5-day initiative.
Not at all. That's amazing. Kudos to
Yeah.
and your team for making an huge impact for all 10 of these incredible charities. Um, so I'm wondering, what are you hoping is the outcome of Philanthropy Week now that Philanthropy Week is complete or over? What do you
Mhm.
hope comes from this?
So, like I've mentioned, we really wanted to try and create lasting relationships with these charities. And we did that in a few different ways. We provided educational content and ways for everyone across Team Sprout to get to know some interesting facts and tidbits about the charities and the causes that they support. And we also encouraged, outside of getting this is a point-based competition system. So outside of getting like a point for every dollar raised, there are also points for engaging in different activities. And one of the things that we did is give teams a point for every follower gained across all social channels for their charity.
Oh,
And our hope there is that instead of this just being a 5-day event that really has a great impact in terms of the awareness and the funds that it brings, that it really does create those longer lasting relationships. And we also created a service day project for all 10 charities. So whether it was getting an analytics report and some recommendations for how they can be more proactive and engaged on social, or doing something custom that the charity was hoping that we could help with, like Howard Brown Health had a summit event that they wanted some expertise on and keeping their attendees engaged after the day summit, all of that good stuff. So we really wanted to make sure that the charities felt like they were connected with the teams that were supporting them. And, outside of Philanthropy Week itself, championing diversity, equity, and inclusion, like I mentioned before, is one of our core values. So our dedication to leveraging our privileges and resources continues to remain strong, even as we navigate being a public company. And so while Philanthropy Week is currently the only initiative that we have that centers around active fundraising, we are consistently donating funds and time to organizations that we care about. So a few things that I want to mention: we have a program called Sprout Serves. It's an internal program dedicated to engaging our employees in volunteering so that we can be of service to our communities. The same way that workplaces provide time off for other things like voting or other civic duties, we saw fit to provide opportunities for our community involvement. So whether you're volunteering as a team in the middle of the workday or on your own with an organization that you care about, we wanted to make sure to make it easy to accomplish for our team. And even with the pandemic, I'm thrilled to say that we have collectively volunteered over 3,500 hours to date this year. And earlier this year, we donated $250,000 to local national nonprofit organizations that advance racial equity and justice. So those are things that we'll continue to do and continue to prioritize as an organization so that we can be engaged with and continue to help improve the communities in which we live.
absolutely. Thank you so much for the incredibly important work that you all are doing around diversity, equity, inclusion, uplifting the nonprofit community. We are huge fans of the work that you are doing. And Philanthropy Week was so fun to follow along. Our entire Givebutter team had a blast watching you even just advocate and uplift these stories and facts around these charities. So thank you for using Givebutter to do that and for sharing your success with us today.
Definitely. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about it. Givebutter was such an important and joyful partner to have in this process. It really made things a lot easier for us. And frankly, I think it's all of our job to give back whatever we can, whether that's time or other resources. And so we're thrilled that we could do it in this way and that we can do it in all the multitude of ways that we support and highlight at Sprout.
Absolutely. And for everybody else who's watching, thank you for joining for another success story. Please remember to like, share, subscribe to Givebutter's YouTube channel. If there are questions I didn't ask Katy that you want answered, comment below and we will try to get to as many as we can. We look forward to seeing you next week for another success story. Bye, everybody.